Welcome to Percussion Methods. Today we're talking about dynamics and sticking on concert snare drum. For louder dynamics, we play with more height and more velocity. For softer dynamics, a smaller height and less velocity. But the location on the head that we play in also determines the tone across different volume levels. To make sure you can access a wide and rich range of dynamics, make sure you're giving the drum a little bit of space. If you're really close to the drum, it's harder to play in the center, which we usually do for loud playing. If you're standing far away from the drum, it makes it harder to access the edge of the head, which we usually use for softer playing. So about a grapefruit's worth of space is about perfect. We're going to change where we play on the head depending on our dynamic level. For loud dynamics, such as forte and above, we're going to play slightly ahead of center. Why not in the dead center of the head? Well, it's a bit of a dead spot on the drum, and we want to have a nice open tone. So for loud dynamics, a nice full stroke height, good rebound and good velocity into the head, just ahead of center like this. And of course, you want to make sure that your hands are balanced in volume, so they're coming up to the same height and using the same force or velocity in and out of the head. On the soft end, say for piano and softer, we're going to go much farther out towards the edge of the drum, about an inch from the rim. We don't ever want to play, no matter how soft the dynamic level, closer than an inch to the rim, because we get a really ticky nasal sort of sound as we approach the bearing edge. That's the top of the shell where the head touches. So for some soft playing, a small height, but still using a quick motion in and out of the head. If we go really close to the rim, we start to get a very nasal kind of sound. That is really lacking a lot of body and snare drum characteristics. So again, no matter how soft the dynamic, I don't recommend getting any closer than an inch away from the rim. Filling in our other dynamics, as we get softer, we get closer to the rim. As we get louder, we get closer to the center. So mezzo forte is about an inch ahead of center. Mezzo piano is 2-ish inches, or about halfway between the center and the rim. And then for softer dynamics, we're going to get about an inch away from the rim. The drum becomes more sensitive as we get closer to the rim, which works better for softer dynamics. And closer to the center, it gives us a bolder, fuller sound, which works great for loud playing. Changing through the different dynamic zones in German grip is easy. We're going to articulate our elbow forward, which keeps this grip platform and wrist articulation the same throughout. So if we were to visualize this in air play, here's our loud dynamic in the center, and then I'm moving forward with my elbow, and decreasing the height, getting closer to the edge, and back toward the center and up. Elbow moves forward and closer to the edge. Here's what that looks like. I'm also firming up my back fingers as I play it lower, because I need that control to lift more of the stick. I'm not getting as much rebound from the head. At a loud dynamic, my back fingers are actually flexing a little bit. They're springy, but they're on the stick, which allows it to bounce up freely, so the drum is doing a lot of work for me. We could think of the snare drum as being a rhythm and technique laboratory for percussion. It might not be the sexiest of instruments, and it usually plays an accompanimental role, and although it's not a melody instrument, it can certainly play melodically. Inconsistencies in your playing are very, very noticeable on this particular instrument. So you want to make sure that you're using a drum that's been well maintained, the heads are tuned well, the snares are tuned well, and you're using appropriate concert snare sticks that are well pitch matched. When I'm practicing some snare drum music, one of the first things I need to do is study the part and find a good sticking. A sticking is simply the pattern of right hands and left hands that you're playing in certain passages. Once I find a sticking that's working well for me, I like to write it into the part. That way I practice it the same way every time. If you're working on a passage and you're always sticking it in a different way, it's not going to soak into your muscle memory nearly as well. A good sticking is one that is consistent, is musical, and is easy to learn. This particular example in 4/4 time is in a simple time signature and has a fair amount of 16th note syncopation. To keep it simple, all of the beats and the ands of the beats are going to be with my right hand. All of the e's and the uhs of my beats are going to be with the left hand. That way, it feels like I'm playing alternating, running 16th notes, and I'm just removing a hand when I have a syncopated pattern. For example, the very first beat looks just like the second beat, but the E of it, or that left hand, is missing. If you want to maximize the consistency of your sound when playing concert snare drum, ideally, you would play everything with the same hand. Think about it. It's the same stick, it's the same hand, the same wrist, the same arm, all the same muscles and ligaments. So if you want to go for the most consistent sound, you want to keep all those variables the same. You're also going to be playing in the same part of the drum as well. So if the tempo allows, when we have sequential eighth notes or an even slower rhythm, we're going to play that with the same hand. For a right-handed person, it's probably going to be your right hand. For a lefty, it may or may not be your left hand. It's really whatever hand is stronger and smarter. We can see an example of that in the first measure. On beats 3 and 4, I'm going to play all of those eighth notes with the right hand, unless the tempo gets too fast, in which case I'll need to alternate it so my right hand doesn't get worn out. There's one spot where we break out of our pattern and it's indicated with an arrow. It's in the third measure on the and of beat 2. Normally I would play that and of 2 with a right hand, but you'll notice there's quite a significant dynamic drop. This is easier to do when you set up different hands with different dynamics, which is why it's indicated this way. The left hand can stay nice and low because my right hand was just playing at forte quite high. Now I can't play all of those piano 16th notes with just my left hand, so I do need to get the right hand back in there on the of 2, but I'm going to rip the right hand back up into the air for the forte dynamic with the accent. It's going to require a quick upstroke. When you're rehearsing your stickings, it's not a bad idea to sing them. For example, the first measure would sound like this. Right, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, 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 right. It might seem kind of strange, but it really does help those stickings sink in. And then you can say you're sticking an air drum in. Right, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, 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 right. Then you can play it. You'll notice I'm playing on as small an area of the head as possible, almost like I'm playing on a nickel. If I have the tips of my sticks in different zones, especially if one is closer to the rim than the other, I'm going to get a wobbly kind of sound, even if I'm at the same volume level. That's not an even, consistent sound. You want to aim for a small area for both tips of the sticks to play in. Here's what this passage sounds like. When I'm playing, I like to start and end up with my sticks. That way I'm allowing it to rebound off of the head. If I stick down, then lift it back up, that's actually wasted energy. This head wants to rebound, so keep a nice fluid wrist and allow the stick to do so. I also want to look how I sound, and when I'm playing a passage like this, I want it to be bold and open, a la 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 kind of sound, which looks airy, not a tick 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 kind of sound down into the drum. One of my philosophies with percussion teaching is that it's a visual and sonic art form. We want to sound really, really good and visually complement that at all times. Passages such as this one in compound time have slightly different sticking recommendations. In general, we're going to stick things as if we were alternating all of these triples. So if you look in beat 3 of the first measure, we have 2 right hands in a row. It's almost like we were playing an alternation, but that left hand is missing. In the second measure, at the beginning, we have 4 right hands in a row. This is going to work at moderate to slow tempi, and again, using the same hand over and over again is going to give you the best chance of a consistent sound. At a really, really fast tempo, you might choose to alternate that instead. Once again, near the end of the excerpt, we have a dynamic drop. I'm going to set up that dynamic change using a different hand. That way I can stage the sticks at different heights. This way, the same hand doesn't need to navigate different height levels to achieve the desired dynamic. Just like with the other example, it's a good idea to sing the sticking to help it sink in. Right, left, right, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, right would be the first measure, for example. Then you can airplay it while you say it. Right, left, right, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, left. To reiterate, finding a sticking is one of the first ways I really study and practice a piece. I'll find it and work it out on a practice pad, make sure it works well with my hands. I can phrase it and scale it at different tempi, and then I'll write it into the part. That way I practice it the same way every time. Here's what this example sounds like. You'll notice in the last 2 beats going out to piano, I get about an inch away from the rim and then come in toward the center for that forte and give a little bit of extra velocity for the accent. If I scale the tempo up, I'm going to change the sticking in the second measure. Instead of 4 right hands in a row at the beginning, I'm just going to play right, left. That way I can keep the hands flowing and it doesn't tire out my right hand. Determining and practicing a sticking that works for you and is musical is really, really crucial to solid snare drum playing. So take your time and make sure you find a sticking solution that works really well for the music you're working on.